What's up, pro wrestling fans? Welcome to another special edition of the Nation's Corner. I'm front row. I'm here with Tony Justice, the greatest truck driver of all time, Debhausen, the great and powerful with a glass of wine, and Mongrovian Mike, all the way from Monrovia, Long Island. What's up, people?
What's happening?
What's happening? Oh my God, Jinx!
Don't do that again.
Wow.
Well, you're going to curse us or something. Be cursed.
That's how connected we are.
That's weird. Okay, man, we've got a special show for you guys tonight. We're going to be joined shortly by one of the most exciting new talents in the indie scene, Cole Bohannon. We're going to talk about the WWE draft. We're going to talk about all things pro wrestling, and some AEW. I've got my Coke so we can have our AEW talk later.
That's funny.
Cheers, everyone.
There are a lot of people in the chat. I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat. Thanks for joining me. We got John in South Jersey.
Oh, Brent's he's always there.
What's up, John?
Right, yeah. I see Brent. I see Seth. I see Brian. Marks. My goodness. Miss Front Row, as always. Neil, R.A. and more people joining every moment. Thanks, guys. This is going to be a fun show.
Yeah.
So
smash that like button.
Like, subscribe, keep that notifications on. We're also going to talk a little bit of Mission Pro towards the end of the show. So stay tuned for all the wrestling talk after we catch up with Cole. So at this time, why don't we bring our special guest in? And I think Tony and I are probably going to say hi and then step back and let you guys have a conversation. So joining us now is Cole Bohannon. What's up, Cole?
What's going on, guys?
Hey man, thanks for joining us.
Good to see y'all.
Yeah, we appreciate you spending some of your Saturday with us.
I've been part of the damn nation since 2018. And you're on the show. Come on now.
Yeah. Well, you had to pay the fee, right? Did you send your check in?
I guess so. I mean, I guess I figured out the safe word.
My safe word is pineapple.
This whole time I was trying to book this guy named Wes. And I couldn't find
who the hell he is. He's some drunk from Jacksonville.
I have no idea who the fuck that is, but I know who you are now.
Better.
All right, Tony and I are going to step out. You guys are going to chat for a few minutes, then we're going to come back. And Cole, if you want to stay with us and talk some pro wrestling, some of the draft, maybe your thoughts on the draft and some other stuff that's going on in the world, you're more than welcome. All right, talk to you a few.
Yeah, all right. Welcome, Cole Bohannon.
What's going on?
CB Attitude. Catch it. We're getting it here right now on the Nation's Corner. How you doing, my brother?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling wonderful. This has been a successful spring. I've been on the road like crazy. I'm happy to have this Saturday off. I know we planned on doing something last Saturday, but last weekend was phenomenal, and getting a little bit of rest time in, a little bit of me time, and figured this would be the best time to catch up with all y'all.
Good.
Sounds awesome. So, what have you been doing? What have you been doing? Where have you been wrestling? You've been
Liquors and whores, brother. Liquors and whores. No, I've been everywhere. I've been doing whatever it takes to make sure the world knows who Cole Bohannon is once this journey's over. I've just been wrestling everywhere, all over Florida, Georgia, Alabama, from the Panhandle down to South Beach. I've been putting in the miles, paying the dues, and continue to do so. And I'm not shitting you. I'm having the time of my life doing it, living my dream, doing what I always wanted to do but never thought I could.
It's so cool. It's so cool because we know you obviously as being a caller, a frequent caller, who had a lot of cool points of views. You know, everybody doesn't agree, but you were always respectful. And then later on down the line, we found out this caller Wes from Jacksonville started getting into wrestling. How did you get into? I know you were into wrestling, but how did you get into the wrestling ring? What put you in that frame of mind to want to do that and go forward with that?
Well, My cousin is a 23-year veteran now or something like that in the Indies here in Florida, Blaine Rage. He's been around for a very long time, gone to his shows, listened to his stories, always looked at him from just a spotlight of a hero almost, of everything that he's been able to do with his life, to the point of being green lighted by WWE at one point. He's had a hell of a career, but around the pandemic, I was like, man, I want to be a manager. And is this a PG show or can I be me?
You
You
can
can
say
be you.
whatever you want.
Okay, he told me to shut the fuck up and get in the ring and be a worker. And that's like, all right. I don't know if my body can take this. I mean, I got into the game fairly late at the age of 30. And it was August 28th of 2020. My first day of training. And from there, the rest is history. I started off slow. I was honestly a slow learner because I overanalyzed shit, which worked against me, believe it or not.
Right.
A lot of bumps and bruises, teaching my body to do things I haven't done since a teenager. I haven't done anything athletic since, high school. So it was getting back into that. My body, building that callus again that I built up in high school football that went away, and having that back and just gradually feeling myself get better. It was motivating. And 2020 was a hell of a year for all of us. And somehow that ends up being the year that I start training.
Yeah. Now thinking back, you say, you were in football, but you always hear from a lot of guys, a lot of athletes that were in football, and then they get in the ring and they go, holy shit. Like, I didn't know what I was in for. It's a lot. I'm not saying football is easy. Football's a tough effing sport, but wrestling, what all the crap that people throw at it for some reason, the hell with them. Tell us, what's it like? What's
it's just a different discipline. I'm a big motorsports fan. It's like going from NASCAR to F1 or a open wheel. It's two complete different disciplines that take a different skill set. Football is hard hitting. You're out there trying to hurt the guy that's on the other side of you, basically, because it's the competition to beat one another. And sometimes that comes to violence. And to a point, pro wrestling's the same way, but it's an art form where you also take care of the individual. But when it comes to just getting up, getting put down, getting up, getting put down, could be 30, 40 times within a 10 to 15 minute match. Nothing compares to that. I don't think MMA compares to that. Boxing doesn't compare to that. Just the whole discipline that pro wrestling takes. And I've had locker rooms with MMA guys and boxers that have came in and that have said the same thing. Pro wrestling is a completely different discipline that takes a different skill set, not taking anything away from anything else, but it's one of those things where it's you can be a star athlete in high school or even college, but when you step into that ring, it's a little bit of a learning curve.
Yeah. So I just earlier today started watching the Monster Factory show that's on Apple TV Plus. If you haven't started watching, it's really good. So one of the things that, like, I'm really glad that show's out there because it's something that can reach non-wrestling fans to kind of introduce them to what wrestling is all about. Like you said, it's like a performance art, it's athletics, it's competition. It's like all of that wrapped into one. And I was really fascinated seeing a glimpse of the process at the Monster Factory, the process of coaching. So tell us a little bit about like the coaching that you've received and like what the most valuable thing that you think the most valuable thing to you that you've gotten out of the coaching and the training.
It's a touchy subject, sweetheart. And the reason why is because I've spent the last I'd say the last year, May 7th will be a year, shitting on my coach.
Okay.
And I'll go into that. I started at a school that I won't name that was very, they teach you the basics. They teach you how to be safe. They teach you the old school way of things, which is great. I'm very thankful for that. I learned how to do things properly, unlike, some of the bad habits we may see today and we all criticize. I was taught not to do it those ways. I was taught to, just do things properly. And I'm very, very thankful for that. I'm glad I went to the school that I went to. However, that is one of those schools that Bully talks about and me and Thunder talked about that they aren't really the type to train you to be a professional wrestler. They train you to be their wrestler. And
Okay.
if you want to get your name out there, it's either them or nothing. It's a cult-like mindset. And then, they play favorites. They'll have certain guys they allow to get out there and do their thing to get their name out there. But what really triggered me was my own coach tells me when I offer my time to go to a autograph signing, no. And when I ask why, because you don't look like a pro wrestler.
Wow.
That was kind of, a punch in the gut, because let's face it, it's 2023. It's not 1985. You don't have to be 6'6", 285 to be a pro wrestler anymore and be talented. And that just opened up the door to me being in a position where I have very much been rage against the machine type person. And that was actually my original theme song, where I go against the grain.
Okay.
At that point, when I'm told that, I'll get that question as well, John. I see that. When you're told that, you want to prove somebody wrong, and that's what I wanted to do. And I did a show for Dory Funk Jr., which Coach Dory is the kindest, sweetest soul you can meet in this industry. I did a show with my cousin, and I let my trainer know I did this, and I was given a guilt trip. And then I was put into a position where I was just used as a squash kid. And that's when I knew it was my time to go. And May 7th, 2022, I left, and I've been training on the fly. And when I mean that, I mean I'm learning from those that I spend 5 to 15 minutes in the ring with on each and every Saturday or Sunday night, as well as the talent that's in the locker room. I'll go into a little bit later the shows that I just did this past weekend. But when it comes to coaching, I had a coach teach me the basics. Mm-hmm. And now I have the industry as my coach, and I absolutely love it. And if I can answer John's question, starting training at 30 compared to 20, what's the best way to put this? It's kind of like, I don't know, getting hit by a train and not being ready for it. It hurts like a son of a bitch. You end up being the old head in the locker room, even if you have the less experience. I've been deemed in a couple locker rooms as the uncle, just because, I'm on the same level as them, but I'm just a little bit older than them.
Right.
But everybody the cool thing is everybody looks at each other with respect. Age doesn't matter at that point. You can be 22 or 42. We're on the same level. We're in the same locker room. We all share the same love. And I got to say, contrary that I've seen on social media, and we know Twitter is a cesspool, the independent wrestling is extremely healthy, especially in the state of Florida, and we have some very healthy locker rooms where we all become family.
Yeah, I totally see that. I know what you're referring to, the whole discussion that kind of takes place on Twitter about indie wrestling, and it is just so stupid. Indie wrestling is probably the hottest it's ever been before. I mean, I live in PA, north of Philly. Mongrovian lives out there in Long Island. John lives in Jersey. Any given weekend, there's probably 3 or 4 shows happening within 2 hours of each of us.
We have shows coming up. We have shows coming up now that you're not going to be on the show. We're not going to be on the show.
Yeah, next Saturday we've got a show we're going to. The following Saturday we've got a show we're going to. The following Saturday after that, there's like 2 shows that I know of that I wanted to go to and couldn't. So yeah, I don't understand that philosophy whatsoever. Indie wrestling is hot. And like up here in the Northeast, down there in Florida, it's just everywhere. I also wanted to ask, when you were talking about just kind of learning on the job, so to speak, do you think that gives you somewhat of an advantage? And being a little bit older than a lot of the people that are starting to train, do you think that gives you somewhat of an advantage because you are learning from a variety of people from all the different shows that you go to?
It's a double-edged sword. There's many ways to skin a cat, but there's only a few correct ways to do so. That's kind of the cool thing that I've noticed is when I came up in training, again, doing things the old school way, I learned that very simple things have a kind of a different twist to them. With certain moves. I'm not going to pull back the curtain on that, but there's different ways to do stuff. And it's kind of cool that I'm able to show some of these cats almost like a veteran of how I do it And they were like, okay. And they end up, finding that being a safer, more clean way to do things. I'm learning different ways to do different things, which is awesome, because then I'm figuring out which way works best for me, which way looks the best, which way feels the best, which way is the safest, and what's going to put on the best show. And then being older, one big advantage with this is, imagine being a senior in high school put into a middle school class. There's a different when it comes to maturity.
Right.
I handle myself in a very professional manner. I'm a business owner outside of the ring, so I handle myself as so inside a locker room. And being a little bit older, I tend to avoid the drama in
Right.
this industry, which the younger guys kind of feed into that. They kind of like the drama. I'm not that guy. I shake hands when I show up. I smile. I'm friendly with everybody. I do what I have to do. I get my check in, I leave. And then I go to the next, locker room, and I do the same. And the best thing that's been about this is Cole Bohannon was being able to be created in a way that has zero reputation. If there's a number on reputation, it was at 0. And if 100 is the highest, that's where Cole Bohannon's sitting. Deb, Mike, I know there's probably people in your lives that probably don't like you. You probably got off of the first impression. You may not like them. You set up a first impression. And sometimes in your life, like, man, I wish I'd go back and do something different with my reputation.
Are you ghosting on our Discord?
No. But this has been on my mind since I became a wrestler. It's just like, this is a fresh slate. This is me. It's kind of like going to a new school. This is me. Nobody knows me. I get to set that precedent. And I'm doing that now, and I feel like I'm doing a very good job of it.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a question. It's a hypothetical question, but it's probably something that probably has run through your head, or maybe, I don't know if you've experienced it, maybe. You come out of the ring, you finish a match, you go back behind the curtain, Tommy Dreamer, Mark, or Bully are standing there. What do you say? What's the first thing you say to them? And
so my first thing is I thank them, because there's no doubt before the match I've already picked their brain. So I'll get out of the ring and shake whomever's hand it is. Thank you for what you've told me. Did you see the match? 9 times out of 10, they're not watching unless, you ask, and sometimes they're still not. And that's no shot at the men that you called out. It's just typically those veterans are there to do their own thing, and they're not just trying to watch everybody that they can. Cause I'm sure everybody's asking them.
I'm a witness. Tommy Dreamer stands out there right outside the curtain with his arms folded and watches pretty much almost every freaking match. He is,
That's awesome. The first thing I would ask is what do I need to change? I'm not going to ask, what did you think? I'm not going to ask, did you like this or did you like that? The first thing I'm asking is, what can I do different? What need to change? Because enough people can blow smoke up your ass, and you're not going to learn as much as you're finding out what you need to fix. And just kind of segue into that, Mike, if you don't mind. This past weekend, I debuted with USWA, United States Wrestling Alliance, the biggest promotion in Jacksonville. And it's ran by a wonderful woman named Ella. And it's not ran by him, but he has close ties with it. And that's the Pope, Elijah Burke. Some of his students are there, Isaiah Zane, who I've had a match with, the Russell twins, who I just worked with Saturday. And just sharing the ring with Pope, and literally just, I wouldn't say deer in headlights, but focused, like listening to everything he says, exactly how he says it. Cause I know that Bully says it all the time. Watch who you're being trained for, dissect who you're being trained for, trained by, have they made it or not? And that's sharing the ring with somebody that's made it. So,
and the way Pope talks, it's like you're at church. You should just be sitting there like,
yeah. I mean, I listen to everything, and he's kind of a hard nose with it. He's not the type to, pat your head and tell you, you're doing good. He's very straight up, which is what I like. And I got that opportunity, and I did exactly what I just said after the match. I was working his guys, so of course he watched it. After the match, I thanked him. He talked to his guys about what they, the do's and don'ts. Unfortunately, I didn't get much time because his match was right after ours. So, but I had that opportunity to do so, and Pope was outstanding when it came to teaching a guy some stuff that he just met. He didn't have to spend a damn second with me, but he did. And right away, I learned stuff. I picked up a couple different not move sets, but different couple moves, a little bit of psychology. It's crazy what spending 10 to 15 minutes with somebody that's made it in this industry, just spending some time with them and talking to them, what you learn. And I did something this weekend, and I thank Pope for it. He even said, if you don't feel comfortable doing something, don't do it. How do you feel about a Tower of Doom? And I was like, sure, let's do it. And the other side of me pissing down my leg because I've never even been to the top rope. I was told by my trainer at my size I had no reason to go up there, so I was never taught how to.
Wow.
So I never even tried to go up there. So I kind of learned how to get up there on the fly.
Yeah.
And then there's three things I'm afraid of. That's being unbalanced, heights, and out of control. All three of those are happening at the same time when you're at the top of a Tower of Doom.
Well, one thing, you were at the top, so if you're pissing down your leg, at least it's going.
Yeah, man. And the whole
sorry for the other
thing,
guys.
when you're upside down like that and you're depending on somebody else making sure that you're safe.
You're totally in it. Your life literally is totally in their hands.
Yeah. And I give everybody that was in that ring at that point my gratitude, as well as Pope, because if Pope would have never suggested that, I would have never done it, and I still wouldn't have ever experienced that. So I loved it.
Well, good for you. Good for you. And you
Awesome.
really that's just amazing. So before we go to Deb with a question, I just want to know what do you have to promote coming up? Do you have something?
Yeah, May 27th. This just popped up yesterday.
Okay.
Promoter contacted me out in Daytona Beach, Florida. Go Wrestle. Go Wrestle is by far superior when it comes to that Daytona area. Go Wrestle, May 27th, Nova Road in Daytona Beach, Florida. It's on my socials, the address, all that. It's another place that my cousin, left his footprints, and now I'm getting to walk in his steps and go work for this promotion. It's a beautiful auditorium. It's very similar to like Daly's Place or an amphitheater where all the seats are in front of you, kind of like looking down at you. And I'm excited for it. But May 27th, as of now, the cool thing about indie wrestling is you can wake up with nothing to do. By noon, you have a whole month full. Last year when I was on the FU tour, it was my goal to work every single weekend throughout the summer just to show you that I could do this. And my old trainer's whole saying, his old moniker, when he would try to show off would be, "Bitch, I'll be booked," when we would tell him that he wouldn't get booked anywhere else but his own promotion. Well, I turned that into a T-shirt. And when I was told that I could not draw a line, was what I was told to me. I made that. I took that personal. So I went out and got booked every fucking weekend, Saturday, Sunday, sometimes Fridays, running triples from June to September.
Hell yeah.
And then learned real quick not to do that. Your body needs time to rest. But man, I can't think of what Johnny Cash song it is, but there's a line, and theoretically I took a shot of cocaine and away I run. Which theoretically is what it was. I put my head down, put my boots on, and I hit the road. And I had fun. I met tons of promoters, able to filter out the ones that I feel like aren't as much of a benefit to me as others in my career. Let's face it, some of them aren't. I am extremely happy to add Go Wrestle to the resume come May 27th in Daytona Beach, Florida.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice. So, I feel like someone telling you can't do it is the best motivation in a way.
Yeah.
Because, being stubborn and being hard-headed, you're like, well, you think I can't do it? Okay, I will. Yep. So kind of along the lines of that motivation, what's your goals? Let's say it's just about May. So what's your goals by the end of the year? Where do you want to be by the end of this year?
I want to have another title on me. I want a promotion to believe in me to the point that I can draw tickets. Let's face it, that's what we're all here to do, is make money. And I know how to make money. The title that I've been chasing the most is the Breakout Championship at my home promotion that is ironically 5 hours away from me. CWF, Coastal Wrestling Federation, out in Milton, Florida. They have a show this May, the 20th, conspiracy out at the Santa Rosa County Auditorium. Fortunately, I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean in the Bahamas for that weekend. So unfortunately on that, some dates got moved around, but I will be there every other show of this year chasing that championship. I faced Isaiah Zane for that championship back in January. Unfortunately, they have a Money in the Bank type gimmick, and that was cashed in on me in the middle of that match. Cleveland Biggs inserted himself into it to make it a triple threat, took advantage of me being wiped out 1, 2, 3, got that championship, and I've been
damn you, Jericho.
That bastard.
I've been chasing them ever since, and we've been having banger after banger as I'm chasing that title. So that is the goal. By May of next year, I want to be that champion and be that champion for some time, as well as whatever else is thrown at me. When it comes to the, let's face it, the stereotypical goals, I want to be on AEW, I wanted to be on WWE. That's the goal every damn day I wake up.
Yeah.
But being realistic as well, that relies on me getting my name out there, getting to know people, and that is a journey that doesn't happen overnight. So I'm going to keep on pushing. Of course, that's going to be a goal that you can turn on your television and see Cole Bohannon in action, either Access TV, if it's on Reels with MLW, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's the long-term goal. But by May, I plan on having more gold around my waist.
Awesome.
Well, on the indie circuit, then how far are you willing to travel up the East Coast? Come to the island, Long Island, MacArthur Airport.
I'll go to Alberta, Canada. Is that on the East Coast?
That's in the East Coast somewhere.
Somewhere.
That's on the East Coast of America Light.
I look at it this American Light. I like that. What do we call? What we call Mexico,
America with all the forests. We got out here. Well, we got Creative Pro, obviously.
Yeah, I'll work anywhere.
But we have a bunch of indie promotions. We have a great guy, John Radio, does Victory Pro Wrestling. This right here, the big boofer, Desmond Cole. You might have heard of him. I don't know, but he's the New York State champion, the Victory Pro champion, and maybe you could come up and challenge him. I don't know. There's so many promotions up. There's
many.
There's Atlantic All Star. Maybe you could come.
They're in South Jersey. I got PPW.
Challenge Mr. Tony.
Tony Leanda.
This has been my rule that I've kind of set myself. I'm also from the Northeast area, believe it or not. I'm from the Buffalo area. Go Bills.
Nice. Okay.
I'm from that area. I want to have my family and friends that are in that area to see me perform in action. It sucks that in Buffalo they have I think one promotion, and I've reached out enough times. They seem to have their hands full. So but I would love to be in that area. But here is my rule, and it's something that I offer promoters as well. Being a businessman, it's a compromise that if you're willing to have me on your show, even though I'm 1,000 miles away, the first show I'm willing to pay for my own travel. You just pay my rates, and then if you like what you see, then we can work something out in the future. So all your promotions around there, you want to see Cole Bohannon, let them know they don't have to pay for a damn dime when it comes to my travel. I'll cover that. I'm willing to sacrifice that as paying my dues just to show you what I can bring to your promotion.
Awesome.
All
Well,
right.
right now we're going to bring in Mr. Tony Justice and Mr. Front Row, and we're going to talk some wrestling that went on this week. And
I have a couple of quick questions before we jump over there. Cole, I had a couple of quick questions for you. So, Mark Henry always talks about giving people their flowers, and I've heard from what I've heard from you from the first time I heard you as a caller to today is such an appreciation and respect for the business. I can hear the progression just in your calls. So I got to give you some flowers there.
Thank you.
I also wanted to ask you, because one of the topics lately we've been discussing is social media as a promotional tool from the perspective of there's some folks that like to use it in their own voice versus a character voice. And then there's other people that strictly character. And so what's your view on social media as a promotional tool?
So the little kid of me says, I fucking hate it. Seeing them with their, with real names, that the little kid in me is like that. But the other side of me is I understand it because you are a brand. Your name with WWE is owned by WWE. That's not you. Where you as a human being are your own brand, and you may have other things out there going for you, such as Twitch, such as gaming, such as OnlyFans, such as Patreons. Whatever it might be, that is you. And WWE obviously owns their brand. You own your brand. So I understand that. The cool thing is with me is I'm the same person on social media though that you see in the ring, you see outside of the ring, you see at the grocery store, and I've said that many times. And I think that's why it's so easy for me to play a quote unquote character. It's because there's no fucking character. It's me. Like this is just me. Like when I'm in the ring just joking around, you're getting a lighter side of me. I mean, if I'm in the ring pissed off, you're getting me pissed off. Like there is no character with it, and I love that because
everybody gets the CB attitude.
Yeah, exactly. The whole CB attitude thing came about was just, I guess it's just I run to the beat of my own drum, and that's another reason why either you love me or you hate me. I go against the grain, and I try to do things the way that I think is right, which isn't always right. I've learned to do shit the hard way, unfortunately, and I've learned the hard way. But that's just how I am, and that's how I am on social media. I like to show my sense of humor on there. If I wasn't doing this, I'd probably be doing stand-up comedy by now. But I like to show my sense of humor on social media in the ring, but I like to show you who I am as well, because you know what you're getting, especially if you're a promoter. You know who you're getting in the locker room. You know who you're getting in the ring.
Yeah, so that's interesting, because the other question I had for you was around that as well. Like, if you're booked for a show, and you just show up, wrestle, and leave, like the promoter doesn't feel like they've gotten their value from the booking, right? So I noticed that you spend a lot of time promoting your appearance, helping to get the promotion over. Is that something you just picked up along the way, or was that a veteran advice?
So what's helped me is since 2009, I've been in sales. When it comes to sales, you have to promote your product. I've been a business owner since 2015. To promote your business, to get money, you have to promote your business. And a lot of promotion in today's day and age is social media. The guerrilla marketing only does so much, but when it comes to getting your name out there, the brand out there, and put it in everybody's face, let's face it, we all have this 7 to 11-inch device in our hands almost at all times that we're either scrolling through, Twitter or Facebook. You're more than likely to get what you're trying to show them to their face by social media marketing. And that has been amazing for me with my personal business. And now this has worked for me when it comes to professional wrestling. Now, granted, I'm still boots on the ground, putting flyers on cars and businesses when I work for these shows that are local. I'm still shaking hands, kissing babies that I'd rather punt across the parking lot, and trying to get, asses in seats and money in my pocket. But social media marketing and marketing in general is just something that I've grown to know for over a decade now, and something I feel very comfortable doing.
Yeah, it shows.
Yeah,
Tony,
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, Tony, do you have any questions for Cole before we jump into some wrestling talk, some news?
Oh, I just wanted to get take part in saying, man, you've come a long way. I remember hearing you on Busted Open, like from the very beginning, and to now, to see where you've come and all that, and you have so much respect for the business. So I just want to say thank you for waving the nation's flag, because that's what you're doing out there. Every single time you're in the ring, you're waving the nation's flag, the Busted Open Nation, because that's you. You cut yourself open, and that's what you're going to bleed. It's Busted Open Nation. So I just want to say thank you, man, for doing what you do, and I hope to see you live sometime.
Tony, I appreciate that. And when I said it on the show a few weeks ago, I meant it. That this show really changed my life. Very depressing times when I found the show. It brought my love back to pro wrestling. It brought me into a figurative family of the nation that, we all have one thing in common. No matter our backgrounds, we have one thing in common. That's Busted Open Radio, which brings us into pro wrestling. And it's awesome. I was that kid. Just a quick story during the pandemic, when you only live 15 minutes from Daly's place and it's only friends or family that are doing shows, you figure out a way in. And I was part of those friends and family. If you only saw 9 people at Daly's place, I was one of them. And I
remember those calls.
Yeah. I always had my LaGreca fathead. or I had the head with the four heads on. I can't think of the name of it. I always had that. And
The Hydra.
Yep, the Hydra. There we go. And if you've ever been to a AEW show, Justin Roberts does a really good fan interaction before the show and during commercial breaks. And fans hold up signs, and he calls them out. And I would always hold up my Busted Open signs just to, bring awareness to the show, to the community. And I would once in a while run into somebody like, "Oh, Busted Open." Now you see these damn heads everywhere.
Oh yeah,
and it is awesome to see because the nation's grown so much. So Tony, I appreciate that so much, and it honestly it's a cool thing to be a part of. And I'm going to do my damnedest, and with y'all's help, if possible, to get some shows up there and put on some shows in person for the Busted Open Nation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Cole, just real quick, I want to add to that because during that time when you were calling in, obviously we weren't able to go to shows. We were sort of stuck in our homes watching on TV, and wrestling was the only entertainment that was still live every week. But a big piece of that was your calls, giving us that firsthand experience as a fan. It was one of the pieces that was missing from our lives. So I want to thank you for constantly giving
vicariously experiencing it through you. Yeah.
I felt like a superstar, man.
And other fans, not just you, obviously. Other fans called and gave the experience, and it was the same. It was the same thing, And
but they're not on the show.
It was
yeah. They're not on the show. Fuck them. You
being only part of like maybe 15 or 20 people watching this event live. And Tony Khan still coming out after doing an 8-ball to the head 30 seconds before. And thanks, guys, for coming out. And Christ, bro, you don't even have to yell. Like 15 of us. Like, we're family and friends. Like, Jesus Christ. But it was such a cool experience because I got to witness something in person that 99% of the community wasn't. And that also drove me to do this because I saw everybody busting their ass in a time that the rest of the world was afraid to leave their house. And I saw these going out and do so. So absolutely.
Yeah.
Nice. The Jacksonville days are an interesting time in AEW history. I was just listening to Preston Vance on AEW Unrestricted podcast. And he talked about how the Jacksonville days, like at first they were like, oh man, we're stuck here. We got to be here in the same place every week. But then they grew to be, a family, and they had a routine in the same place. And he talked about the camaraderie that happened during that time because they were so close knit. So it was a weird time. 2020 was a very strange year.
To pull the curtain back a little bit, you had no choice. There's nothing to do here in Jacksonville. They had no choice but to bond. I promise you. When I said liquors and horrors, that's what I meant. But I agree, though. That was our hometown team. I became so hardcore pro AEW, I didn't give a shit what stupid stuff they were doing. They were performing 15 minutes from my house. Like, Tony Khan's doing this, Jericho's doing that. Who gives a shit? Go AEW. Like that's the way it was here. And everybody was like that here in Jacksonville. So
that's
I
awesome.
can see that. I could see how they all grew closer.
Yeah, we've had the opportunity to talk to obviously some of the talent that worked during those shows, and just having a handful of fans to witness it and to provide some feedback was invaluable. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing I want to add, the pandemic, even though it was doom and gloom for a lot of people, for the wrestling community and for us as a group, it brought it. I mean, we were just focused on each other. And I'll tell you, and I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. All these people that I affectionately call my crew got me through the pandemic because we focused on each other, and we didn't care what was going on, didn't watch, all the crap that's going on in the news and all that. I'd rather focus in on my little nucleus of people. And that's what I did. I focused on that, and look where we're at now. And I equate it to professional wrestling as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Because they just soldiered on, right? They found a way, and AEW, WWE, I think AEW did it better, but still, everyone soldiered on, and because of that, we're where we're at now, and now we can look in the rearview mirror. Even if you want to look in the rearview mirror on the pandemic, I don't. I just want to keep on soldiering forward. Just keep on driving forward, man. Keep that truck in gear and go, But but yeah, man, it's just professional wrestling. It's just all I can say is just they found a way to soldier on and they did it. So
I actually I reminisced just the other day about that because I was thinking about that, thinking, damn, I remember the first show that Dave did where it sounded like there was a fan in the background and his $30 Logitech microphone from his house, and thinking 1 hour, and how am I supposed to call in? I can't call in, and just how weird that was, because you're right. All of us that were the nation, we were kind of separated at that point because you got used to your callers. You had Bama Dave, you had Joe at that time. You had that guy that got banned. I can't think of his name. The guy that always
Oh
talked
God,
weird.
let's not talk about that.
Yeah, that one. You
Bag of chocolate milk.
yeah, you had all the regulars. You had Dick Eagle. You know, Mets, and
That's it. Yeah.
yeah,
And when they leave, we still love them. Like we all
Yeah.
miss Mets. We miss Ed Robinson.
I miss
miss
Gabby.
Gabby.
Bring Gabby back.
I'm still
Damn it.
heartbroken over Gabby. Gabby, if you see this, please come on our show.
Love you, Gabby.
We love you.
call me.
You're an ass.
All right, we've gone off the rails now.
Okay.
Yes.
she was.
Bring us
Come
back
on.
together, front row.
She was pretty damn cool as well. I talking to her just on the hold line. That's another thing about Busted Open.
She's
Not to
awesome.
keep on going about it. Everybody's always been personable for the most part, unless you would get that guy
Yeah.
that was just a fill-in that just didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
When it comes to the actual crew, everybody was always personable. Everybody made you feel like home. Everybody made you feel like you're a part of the family. And it's not like that
Yeah.
calling into any radio show, because there's other sports that I watch and I call into, and they're just, hey, what's your name? What are you calling for? All right. And that was it.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit. So
Exactly.
kudos, Busted Open for that.
Yeah,
Hell
agreed.
yeah.
And these guys can tell you we've all spent a fair bit of time with Dave, and he is still so appreciative for every caller, every listener, everybody on Twitter that supports. Like, he genuinely loves the nation. It's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah.
And we love him.
Well, front, he's actually just a heel. It's a front. He hates all of us, actually.
He might.
That's why he moved to the damn mountains, to get away from everybody.
Well, now he's got bears, so they don't like him either.
And coyotes. He's got Wiley there.
And
visiting
coyotes.
now.
That's
Awesome.
right. That's right.
Awesome.
So, Cole, I know you're going to hang on with us for a minute. Why don't you just let folks know where they can find you on the socials?
Yeah, absolutely. So Cole Bohannon 38 on Twitter. Just as you see it in the box here, followed up with a 38, as well as Facebook, Cole Bohannon. Those are the two main socials that I use. Social media is it's a double-edged sword for me. It's easy to suck me into it, so I try to space myself out from it a little bit, because I'm glued on to it for work as well as now for wrestling, so I don't really do all the Instagram and all that crap. But Facebook and Twitter is where you can find me, Cole Bohannon. Feel free to search me there. Also on YouTube, Cole Bohannon. I'm starting to post my matches that are recorded on there. Trying to get some highlight videos together, all that good stuff. Get to see some fun stuff on there. So that's the way you find me. That's the way to get hold of me. And I'll talk some pro wrestling with y'all as well.
Awesome.
Right.
So let's dive into night one
What
of
about
the
shirts?
WWE.
ProWrestlingTees.com/ you guessed it, motherfucker, Cole Bohannon. It's the pinned tweet, by the way. Go to my Twitter. It is the pinned tweet.
Nice.
Cool. Well, you know what? I was going to jump into some draft talk, but since you brought up T-shirts, I want to get everybody's opinion on this shirt that just got released from Dr. Britt Baker. This shirt. It is on AEW's merch site. As wrestling fans, we understand the story. We know what's going on with the Outcasts and all that stuff. Would you buy this and wear it in public?
Yeah. And I tell people that's my wife. Her name's Brittany, so
Oh, damn. She
I
didn't
hope
have
she doesn't
supper
see this.
cooked on time.
Oh God.
But that's the thing. Like, some of these shirts, I remember when Becky Lynch came out with the Last Kicker shirt, and it got taken down pretty quickly because it was, sort of hinted at domestic abuse. And they were like, then they had to put Becky Lynch all over it to let you know it was a wrestler's T-shirt. Like, I look at something like this, I'm fully behind the heels on the show wearing this shirt. It's, it's a poke at Britt, but I don't know that I would necessarily wear it around people who didn't watch wrestling. You know what I mean? I see this as like a questionable decision. So, and Britt's getting pretty much skewered in the comments for it too.
I completely disagree. I think it's hilarious. I think it's great. I don't see any difference between that and the T-shirt with Brit's crimson mask. Yeah,
just gonna bring
someone who
that up.
doesn't know the reference doesn't know the reference, but isn't that the same as any other pop culture T-shirts we wear? You
No,
know,
'cause
so like
Brit-
I wear a Supernatural T-shirt that says "Let's go kick some ass," and nobody else other than Supernatural fans knows what the fuck that means. So
Yeah, but
who
there's a
cares?
big difference. The Brit Crimson Mask shirt is clearly a wrestler in the ring in a match. Like, if you don't have the reference, you have no idea what this image is from.
Well, I would
Yeah.
tend to then say I don't give a shit if somebody doesn't understand what my T-shirt means. I really don't.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, I
tell them
was
it's a
gonna-
dentist and they'll go, that's cool.
I mean, in my early days, I wore a shirt with Casey Anthony's face on it, said "World's Greatest Mom."
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I got my point across real quick.
You're okay.
I'm from the 80s. Does anybody remember Axl Rose wearing a fucking Charlie Manson shirt?
Yeah, I remember
I
that.
remember photos of that. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Speaking of music, you know, when I was in high school, I don't know if I know Elder is familiar with the Metallica Sad But True shirt, and it was the skull holding the other skull, looking at it face to face, right? I wore that to school, and the looks that I would get from people, you know, that thought I was some satanic, you know, person, but the looks that you get from fellow Metallica fans, and you go, those are my people. And it's the same way with wrestling. Like, people that see a shirt that you're wearing, those are the people you want to hang out with, that get your shirt and come up to you and want to talk about your shirt. Those are the people that I want to hang out with. Those are my people.
Yeah.
You know, so
Right.
you know, not everybody's going to get everything, you know. And pro wrestling as a whole has that niche where they can put out a shirt, you know, and it could. The New World Order is another shirt. New World Order, you know, in, you know, non-wrestling terms, is not a good thing, you know. And I wear the NWO shirt when I was in school,
Mhm.
or no, not in school, but you know, after, and I'd be wearing it around, and people would be like, "What are you wearing?" You know. But the
Yeah.
wrestling fans that know what the NWO is, those are my
Exactly.
people.
Hell,
Yeah.
I remember probably in like 4th or 5th grade. I didn't watch wrestling at the time, but I remember friends in school wearing shirts that said "Suck it"
Yeah.
Yeah.
when you're like 10 years old.
Yep.
Yeah. So all right, let's jump over to the draft. I know, so we only had night 1 on SmackDown. So drafted to Raw, we have Cody Rhodes, Becky Lynch, Imperium, Matt Riddle, Drew McIntyre, The Miz, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Indy Hartwell. And I thought this was interesting because I did not expect to see call-ups from NXT to include both the women's champion and the women's tag team champions, who are over on SmackDown. We have the Bloodline, we have Bianca, Street Profits, Edge, Bobby Lashley, the OC, the full OC with the returning AJ Styles, Damage Control, and as I mentioned, the NXT women's tag team champions, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. And they did also announce today there were some additional picks that were done on SmackDown Lowdown, including Viking Raiders, Dexter Lumis, Candice LeRae, Maximum Male Model, Zoe Stark, yay, Zoe Stark, JD McDonough. I think, Tony, is that you? I think we got our feedback on your thing here.
don't know.
Apollo Crews, Natalia, Sonya Deville, and Chelsea Green over on Raw, and just Hit Row and Lacey Evans on SmackDown. So first, I got to give a big shout out to Zoe Stark. I'm a Zoe Stark mark. Zoe Stark was
Yay!
a big part of Mission Pro Wrestling in the early days, obviously. And I think she's the first Mission Pro alumni to make it to Raw or SmackDown. So that's super cool for all of us.
Yeah.
So thoughts on what we've seen so far?
I find it incredibly interesting that they're drafting teams together. sometimes it's kind of arbitrary that some teams go together and some teams get split up, but it seems like so far there is a conscious decision to keep teams together. So that's interesting to me.
Yeah, I was surprised too. I really thought there'd be more breakups, and we still have Monday Night Raw and the remainder of the draft to go, so that could still happen.
Yeah.
I saw the way Apollo Crews acted when he got drafted. Like, he's been there before. He acted like, oh, it's such a big thing, like, oh my God, I'm going to Disneyland kind of thing. But he's been there before. So it was like, it didn't make sense to me, but I thought it was great. The thing I just didn't understand, Roman Reigns staying on SmackDown along with the Bloodline, and then you have Cody staying on Raw. When Triple H made the point last week that when Roman gets drafted to whatever brand, he's staying there. So now it's like Raw and SmackDown is, on each island or whatever. So now, the Cody and Roman story, I don't understand how that's going to go forward if they made it a point to say Roman is going to be on whatever brand and he's not leaving that brand. So, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah,
Mike?
I
Cole,
agree.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, you're good. I agree. I just hope we don't have to see a stupid belt exchange between the women's champions again. Like we saw here, for the love of God. Let's spare us of that because it was cringe to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of expected. I honestly don't think. I know a lot of people are predicting that Cody's going to get this second belt. I think it might be, more the hard times that he has to go through. Maybe it's between him and Brock. Brock ends up beating him for it. It's more hard times that Cody has to fight through. We used to call him Cody Christ back in the day because we got sick of him being on such a pedestal, like he was above everybody else in AEW. And that's, believe it or not, a lot of the indie guys started to turn on him like, holy shit, I can't watch this anymore. But I kind of like seeing Cody struggle now because it's bringing him back down to that realistic level.
Right.
So I'm okay with the split. Obviously, him and Roman are going to meet again, but hey, it leaves us wondering, and that's what's cool about pro wrestling right now. Is we're not sure, we're confused about things, and this is actually a good confusion because we can't completely predict everything like we could for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
Well,
yeah.
Well,
Mike?
even RA says, look at this. This is good. Oh, even saw Raw and SmackDown get drafted together. Chelsea was on Raw. Sonya's on SmackDown. They both got drafted to Raw. Well,
yeah,
she's on Raw. Why do you draft her to Raw? Just keep her there.
And that's another thing is like we never know if they're gonna actually stick to the brand split or not. Like they do a draft, and last draft they did, 3 weeks later, people were switching back and forth on shows. So we don't know. We just have to wait and see.
Yeah. How do you get invested? You get invested in the draft, and then 2 weeks later they say F you with that. That's over. Because.
Well, and there was some additional news too coming out today. There's several free agents, including Ali, Mustafa Ali, Dolph Ziggler, and Von Wagner from NXT, which is weird that you'd have a call up and then leave him as a free agent to float between brands. And I believe MVP has negotiated the same for Omos. So already we're seeing 4 talents that are just going to float between brands, thereby sort of negating the entire brand split. But I like the way they're doing it this year because I really didn't like that Fox newsroom with the robot and all that stuff.
Oh God, that was terrible.
It was awful. And I like having the legends come out and make the announcement. It sort of lends credence to the importance of the draft. It's kind of cool.
Oh, by the way, RVD got the biggest pop out of all the legends coming out.
Shout out to RVD being able to read upside down. Good job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, he probably just smoked a joint before coming out. So.
At least he wasn't reading from the back of the card and holding the answers on the other side.
Oh my God, that would have been great. Oh my God.
So if you guys listen to Busted Open this morning, Denise and Mark talked about some of the possibilities, and I think Denise mentioned that we might get a Gunther versus Brock Lesnar match down the road, and I was like, oh, I need to pay a lot of money for that. That's an awesome pick. What are some of the other matchups that we're looking at that you might be excited about?
Oh God. I don't know. I haven't really thought about possible matchups. I try not to really put my brain into that mindset because then I feel like that creates expectations that will not be met.
Mhm.
But I just want to note that I'm super, super happy to see the Good Brothers back.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been hanging out way too long and not knowing what's going on with them, right? I mean, AJ's out, of course. That just because AJ is out doesn't mean they had to be out either. Like they're
Yeah.
great. They're entertaining as fuck. You know, they need to be on TV. You know, I mean, especially being themselves, right? Because we all know, because we all know they're entertaining. They just need to be on TV. So I'm happy to see them back. I'm looking at this list. Edge on SmackDown. I mean, that's going to bring.
That's good.
Edge. That is going to be good for Edge because Fox is just Fox, right? And so
Edge Roman.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's.
I got to give
That's
RA a shout out here. He brings up in NXT. I'm not a big fan of a lot of the fake story, the fake relationships that they put together. Like I'm fine with having like real life couples highlighted on TV and all that, but putting two people who are married to other people together doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. However, that having been said, that in NXT, Dexter Lumis and Indy Hartwell as Index was a great storyline. It was hilarious. They played off each other really well. And now they're on Raw. They're on the same brand. Bring them back together. I'm here for it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Definitely.
You don't need Austin Theory to join it, but you could have the Way come back. But Austin Theory seems like he already went off the deep end. But
Away.
you know what? They could come back and be heels, maybe. Who knows? But it's so good. Talking about looking forward to it, I'm looking forward to Zoe Stark coming up and kicking everyone's friggin' ass and making everybody up their friggin' game in that main roster.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's pretty exciting. I like the matchups. I like the possibilities. The other thing I want to get your opinion on, a lot of times we talk about the celebrity involvement, and in past years it's been kind of shitty. There's been just people there to promote movies or whatever. Bad Bunny has been such a standout for me, and the effort that he put in to move to Florida to train for that WrestleMania match and to come back now, and the way that he's been selling and laying his shit in, and like everything he's been doing has been meaningful, and he doesn't need to do any of this.
No.
He has billions of views on YouTube. He doesn't need to show up, but he's such a fan of the business and he puts in so much effort. So Cole, from your perspective, when you see a celebrity come in from the outside, do you automatically sort of push back against that, or do you just wait and see what he offers?
I think it's one of those first impression things. We see it before where you have guys get on there and they're just awkward in the ring, and they put a microphone in their hand to promote whatever it is. As you said, you got the whole Ball family that made an absolute ridiculous mockery of the business and themselves. That's one side of it, and then you got the God Pat McAfee. You got Bad Bunny. You got Jake Paul, Logan Paul, whatever one of those Pauls that's in, getting those two mixed up. But both of them going out into combat sports. There's two different sides of it, and it all just comes down to how they impress me at first, what that first impression is, and how they respect the business. Are you just here to promote your shit, or are you here for a meaning? And even the Jackass stuff we saw last year, knowing that was going to be a joke of a match, it turned out to be way better than I ever expected it to be.
Amazing.
But Sammy,
yeah, there has to be some kind of meaning behind it if you're going to bring in that celebrity, other than just, hey, my name is, I have this movie, woo, go wrestling. That shit's stupid. Yeah. But when they're actually there and they show that they're putting in the work and they respect it, I love it. Pat McAfee is godsend for us. I love anytime that he's on a microphone or in the ring. Love that guy.
God bless Pat McAfee.
I love him so much.
Bless him.
I adore that man.
Because you guys know at the beginning, I hated him. I hated you fuck.
All right.
You guys know I hated Bad Bunny, and I was against that shit from the beginning. But now, I love the guy, man. He's a gamer. He came out with that kendo stick. I mean, he should have taught Soraya how to swing it.
Right. Yeah. So I was saying to these guys last night, I think Pat McAfee, I think Bad Bunny is the first like celebrity appearance on wrestling that I wasn't a fan before or didn't know much about them prior, and then I became a fan. Like, I can listen to Bad Bunny music. I don't know what the fuck he's saying. I don't speak Spanish, but I can listen to his music, and it's awesome. And he loves pro wrestling. And I definitely equate him to Pat McAfee, that he's not coming in there just to promote something. He's not coming in there just to get more views on whatever he's doing. He legit loves pro wrestling and wants to be a pro wrestler.
Right.
Does he have a new album out right now or anything like that?
No, I think he just came off a tour. He just finished a tour.
So he's literally not promoting a damn thing.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
He just loves it.
It's like, Bad Bunny is looking at the blueprint that Stephen Amell looked at when Stephen Amell came in.
Love that guy.
He came in and he attacked it, and he was just doing all sorts of stuff, right? He didn't have to do that stuff, but he did it because he loves pro wrestling,
Stephen Amell had a match at All In.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that dude's awesome. Seth used to watch his show, and yes, and I wasn't much into the show except for Stephen Amell. I was like, oh, who's this guy? I like him.
I don't have a drink in front of me right now, or what I'll be doing.
But
it
is funny because I saw a clip of Bad Bunny was on James Corden not that long ago. They were doing in the car singing, and it wasn't carpool karaoke. I forget what he calls it, but he was talking to Bad Bunny. He says, "Oh, you were in wrestling and doing WWE stuff," and he said it was the greatest day of my life. All the stuff I've done, like that was the best day of my life. I'm like, okay, that's my dude right there.
Yeah. Just go back and watch the video clip of when Vince was on the Pat McAfee show. The moment that Vince told him he was having a match, Pat's face lit up. Like he was so excited.
Yeah. And I already mentioned
Vince,
too,
he didn't know before Vince told him.
No, it was obvious he didn't know beforehand.
Yeah. And Stephen Amell then gives back to the business by, being number one on the call sheet and the executive producer for Heels, which season 2 is coming out pretty soon. I know they wrapped on it last summer, and then there were some network issues that prevented the release, but the next season's coming out pretty soon. And that, gives such a great spotlight to indie wrestling. I love that show too.
Mm-hmm.
I have a love-hate relationship with that show.
How so?
Just being old school and trying at the most that we can, especially at this level, keeping kayfabe alive. That show, there is no curtain. They burned the curtain down on that show. Now it's something that I watched every episode of. I mean, it's good television, but being in the industry, I understand times have changed. Undertaker's now Mark Calloway. But it just kind of sucked. Like, I'm watching this with somebody, and they're like, "Oh, that's how it happens." And it's just like, son of a bitch,
I get that.
It's hard to your friends that aren't typically wrestling fans, but are willing to buy that ticket to come see you perform, and they don't know. And then they find something like that, like, oh, like you guys already know what's going to happen. He's like, why? Just tell me who's going to win then. Why am I going to this show? Like,
jeez.
Cole, you know what's real? You show him a clip of John Stossel getting bitch slapped by fucking Dr. Death.
Yeah.
That's real.
Well, the good thing is I still try to keep it as live as much as possible. And those who come see me, they see that I lay my shit in. And I leave with the bumps and the bruises. And but no, great show. Just love-hate relationship.
I think that show is interesting because it caters to the hardcore wrestling fan who already kind of knows what's going on. It's a love letter to wrestling. I don't know that it necessarily brings a whole lot of new viewers to wrestling in general, but I like it. I'm looking forward to the next season. Some of our friends have worked on it, so.
Yeah, talking about the breaking kayfabe, I'm with Dave. I'm with Dave LaGreca too on that on the All Access show, where Saraya's cutting a promo against Britt, and Britt's standing 10 feet away watching it, and they show that, it kind of ruins it. I understand it was months and months later, so that's cool. But now you look at it, you go, damn, that was a good, that was good. It was getting me somewhere, and then you see that. But, that's the least of their problems, I guess, with the.
That's probably true.
To say the least.
At least with the women's division.
Who's to say?
Yeah,
It's a maybe.
Aye.
Yeah. All right. So before we wrap up, I did just want to briefly mention last weekend at Mission Pro Wrestling, we did have a very fun, very successful pay-per-view, Edge of Glory. We're looking forward to June 10th. Our next pay-per-view is True Colors. And taking a look at this poster, there's some new faces that'll be on the show. We're going to see, obviously, the return of Genocide as our champion. And we already know that there's a four-way tag match for those tag titles. So that's going to be pretty exciting. We also saw Thunder step in and sort of lay down the law and even drop an F-bomb live on the pay-per-view, which was fun. So yeah, we're really excited about that. If you're in the Texas area and you want to come to the show, get tickets at missionprowrestling.com or watch the show live on Title Match Network. Folks, anything else you want to hit on before we let Cole go? And Cole, I can't thank you enough for joining us tonight and spending some of your Saturday with us.
I've interacted with all of you on social media one way or another, heard your calls. We see each other's posts, and it truly, I thank you guys for having me on and being able to actually converse with you all and finally be, on the nation's corner and just having some fun. Also with you naming off all these, you were just naming off where you can find Mission Pro. Is it IWTV? Is it Independent Wrestling Television or something? Or what?
Title Match Network.
Title Match
Network.
There's another one called IWTV.
There is.
Wrestling. Yes.
Yeah, we're not on that one.
That's where you can find me.
Okay.
That is where you're going to be able to find USWA. That is, I'm learning about IWTV, and it's a pretty cool place as well. Now that you've told me that's where I can find Mission, I've heard so much about Mission. But when you live like 13 hours away, it's hard to go watch it. Thank you for sharing that where I can find that. And thank you for those words, Brent. I appreciate that. I'll tell you what, if I can end my part off with this is a family. The Busted Open Nation is a family. The Busted Open Radio is the best thing that's happened to the media side of pro wrestling, aside from all the dirt sheet bullshit. It is the best thing to happen. And again, I'm very thankful to having you be on here and having you guys part of the Busted Open family. And hopefully we can do this again. And I'll be able to share some stories with y'all.
Heck yeah.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime. Appreciate you. All right, let's go around the room. Mongrovian Mike, where can people find you?
You can find me at Mongrovian Mike. I also have I'm too cheap. I'm not gonna. I have my own MJF pickles. Listen, pay me $10, $10, and I'll send you your very own.
You caught Tony. You killed Tony.
I ain't paid $25 for a jar of fucking pickles. Come on.
Wow.
Okay.
Follow that, Deb.
Well, I'm at That's So Debonair on the Twitter machine and on Instagram, and click the link in the bio.
Awesome, Tony.
Yeah. Before I give my hand, I just want to share something with y'all. Today I went to my dad's, and they had a bunch of vinyl records laying around that were just stuffed up into a cabinet, and they didn't even know what they had. And I walked away with this.
Wow.
Nice.
My favorite album ever in history.
Yes. And I got it home before the show, and I put it on my record player, and just, oh my God. I came on the pre-show and Front Row was here, and I just had I look like the Joker. I just had a permanent grin because it's just that right there takes me back to my childhood, just listening to records in general. So I'm so happy to have this record here. But anyway, y'all can find me at Tony Justice AJFA. And if you're a Metallica fan, like I'm sure every one of us are, you know what that means. Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Cole, why don't you put yourself over one more time?
I just want to say one
Yeah,
more thing.
Cole Bohannon
I'm
on
sorry,
Twitter.
Front Row. I just wanted to
Cole
say
Bohannon.
one more thing. Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I broke up.
Oh no, you're good. Jesus Christ, what the hell's happening here? Yeah, it's Cole Bohannon 38 on Twitter, Facebook, Cole Bohannon. You can find me if you are in the Florida area. The next show, as of now, you can find me is May 27th. That may change as my dates may fill up here. Again, I am everywhere from the Panhandle to South Beach to Tampa. I am all over this damn state. As well as Georgia, as well as Alabama. And if you want me in your area, the DMs are always open like a hooker that needs a fix. You can find me at any time. And I appreciate you guys. Always check out as well CWF, Coastal Wrestling Federation in Milton, Florida, as we run monthly as well. And I'll wrap this up the same way I wrap up everything. You can find me, Cole Bohannon, doing things the only way I know how to do, and that's with CB attitude. And just remember, especially you, Deb, just because it's curable doesn't mean it's cool.
All right, Mike, you had one more thing, Mike?
I just wanted to wish my daughter and her boyfriend Steven, they just moved into a nice new different house from an apartment, and they got a whole lot of room, and I just want to wish them well, and I'm happy for them, and I just want to give a shout out to my nephew Joseph. Yo,
awesome.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. Well, I am PW Front Row across all the socials. You can find our show at Nations Corner on Twitter, at The Nations Corner on all social media. Also, like, subscribe, and set those notifications. We got lots of interviews coming up, lots more content. Check out Mission Pro Wrestling at missionprowrestling.com and across all the socials. We are going to see everybody next week. Thanks, everybody, for joining tonight. Have a great weekend.